What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your 2-1-Fits Browns Steelers preview. Before we get into this, if you're coming from the Browns Bengals review, shout out to you because you listened, you came over. But let's talk about this. This is going to be a big game, more for the Browns than I would say for the Steelers, if I'm being honest with you. Um, the Browns have a chance to go not only 2-0 to start the year, but 2-0 in the division, which for me, I think is massive. It's absolutely massive because in the first 4 games, the Browns play 3 division opponents. Bengals week 1, Steelers week 2, and then week 4 they play the Baltimore Ravens. And the Titans obviously is an AFC team, so you're playing within the AFC. That's important as well. But 3 division games to start off the year for the Cleveland Browns in your first 4 games. And it starts Monday night against Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Browns absolutely slaughtered the Cincinnati Bengals 24-3 in a dominating win to start the year. On the flip side, the Steelers were slaughtered at home by the 49ers 30-7. So this is interesting. This is interesting because I try not to overlook the Steelers. I try not to downplay the Steelers because even no matter how good the Browns are, that's going to be a tough game, right? It always has been in past years, other than, well, even the playoff game, the Steelers gave us a little bit of a slight comeback before the final nail was put in. But the Steelers always play the Browns tough. So I don't want to overlook and I don't want to completely downplay the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Kenny Pickett, get ready to learn Chinese, pal, because this game is going to be, whew, I feel bad. I feel bad for Kenny Pickett. The 49ers defense is absolutely insane. And I think they might be the best defense in the league, but the Cleveland Browns are right there. Yes, it's week 1. Yeah, it's easy to say that's an overreaction, but what the Cleveland Browns did Sunday against the Bengals, unreal. Unreal. They only allowed 82 passing yards, 75 rushing yards, held Cincinnati to just 2 out of 15 conversions on third down. That is elite defensive numbers from the Browns defense. And the Steelers on the flip side look terrible. And I'm not going to say they're going to be terrible all year, but this is early on, right? We are just starting the season, and this is going to be wild because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think this game will be close. I really don't. Now, the thing for the Steelers is they're playing the Browns at home, primetime football, and you know, that's obviously a big thing for them, right? Having that home crowd at prime time is going to be good for them. But with that being said, on the field, I think this is a really bad situation for the Steelers, and especially for the Steelers offensively, because Kenny Pickett, after the preseason, everybody was talking about, oh, Kenny Pickett is taking that step, looked terrible against the 49ers. And the Cleveland Browns held Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd to just 82 passing yards. And that's not everybody, obviously, who caught a pass, but that is one of, if not the best wide receiver trios in the NFL. And the Browns dominated them. And it wasn't just because the defensive line was getting there. The secondary was unreal. Martin Emerson targeted 6 times, allowed 1 catch. Greg Newsome had an 82.2 tackle grade, 80.2 coverage grade, was unreal, allowed 2 receptions. Denzel Ward was elite all game, shut down Jamar Chase. And for the Steelers, Deontay Johnson is hurt. And, I just don't like their wide receiver room. I'll be honest with you. I think George Pickens is really good, but how effective was he against the 49ers? The Browns have a better secondary than the 49ers. I will say that. Defensive line, that's a different story. That's a close competition, whatever. But the Browns secondary, I can confidently say, is better than the 49ers. Now, obviously, they do things different there than we do. And it's not an apples to apples comparison when comparing the two defenses. But I'm telling you right now, and Steelers fans, if you watch this, you're going to roll your eyes, you're going to laugh, whatever. Uh, I'm telling you, expect similar defensive skills, I guess, is the way to say it. Like the Browns defense is legit. Yes, it's only been 1 week, but if you come into this game thinking, oh no, the Bengals, it was a rain game, Burrow was hurt, you're gonna be surprised because what the Browns have, and I talked about this in the Bengals review, um, the things that they can do now on the defensive side of the football, moving Miles Garrett around. He had 6 pressures, 1 sack, but he played 77% of snaps, which is very important because the Browns have not just one great defensive end, they now have three. Now, obviously, Miles Garrett's in a category of his own, but Zadarius Smith, 6 pressures, didn't have a sack, but he was all over the place, flying to the football, impacting every single play. Obo Okoronkwo, same thing. He got a lot of playing time. We signed him to be the number 2 defensive end, but he plays like it. Even though he's the number 3, he plays like the number 2 defensive end. And the interior of the defensive line, Dalvin Tomlinson dominated. Shelby Harris looked great. But man, the Steelers have a rough game ahead of them Monday because offensively, you got Broderick Jones, who is a rookie, and I think he'll be fine. I like Broderick Jones. I was upset when the Steelers got him just because I think he's going to be a good player. Um, but the Steelers left tackle struggled drastically against the 49ers. Broderick Jones is a rookie. They're missing one of their guards who is injured. And heading into this game with the injuries, with the young guys, if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm very, very nervous because please underestimate this defense. Please, I beg you, Mike Tomlin, underestimate this defense because you gotta find ways to buy time. Kenny Pickett is going to be absolutely slaughtered by this defensive line. And it's not really just that the defensive line is that good. It's how Jim Schwartz found ways to bring pressure. I'm expecting the exact same thing in the Steelers game that we saw in the Bengals game, right? Grant Delpit was being brought on blitzes, moving JOK around, right? The Browns move guys around. Miles Garrett lined up over the center. What? Like, that's crazy. Um, at one point, I mentioned this in the last video. You look down on the field. I was there, by the way. You look down on the field, and there's Miles Garrett standing next to Zadarius Smith. I mean, what are you going to do? And that's not necessarily a slight to like Kenny Pickett because, yeah, he's early on in his career. But how do you defend that? Right? Mike Tomlin has got quite a game to prepare for this Browns defense coming up. So, in my opinion, if the Steelers are going to stay in this game and keep this game close, their defense has to play amazing. Now, they're missing Cam Hayward, who is a great player. He pisses me off unbelievably because he's a nasty, dirty, old school player who always impacts games. He's been great against the Browns historically. And, he's not going to be there. So that's a big piece. And I'm not saying that Highsmith is not a good player, but for TJ Watt to not have Cam Hayward on that defensive line with him, going up a good offensive line like the Browns have, that's going to be a struggle because you need somebody in the middle to disrupt and, just get pressure because the Browns' strengths are the front three there, with Ethan Posick, Joe Batonio, and Wyatt Teller. Those are the guys that do the dirty work for the Browns, right? And this is where things get interesting, and this is what I want to talk about. TJ Watt is going to be matched up against DeJuan Jones. Jedrick Wills sucks and got Jack Conklin hurt. And DeJuan Jones came in and absolutely manhandled Sam Hubbard, right? Buckeye on Buckeye. DeJuan had a 77.8 pass blocking grade against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think that for DeJuan Jones, if you are new to this channel or if you've been watching for a long time, you'll remember I was not thrilled with the pick of DeJuan Jones. And I was concerned because of the off the field stuff. But even on the field, I've never felt great about him matching up against the fast, shifty, bendy defensive ends in the NFL or in general, just the fast, shifty defensive ends. Um, but obviously, TJ Watt and Sam Hubbard are not even in the same conversation. So I'm not going to put them in the same conversation. But I was very impressed by how well DeJuan Jones handled Sam Hubbard. I was very, very impressed because he didn't just shut him down, he completely erased him from the game. On the flip side, Jedrick Wills got embarrassed at times by Trey Hendrickson. And going up against Highsmith is kind of it's concerning. As a Browns fan, it's concerning because Jedrick Wills sucks. He sucks. He's not good. He doesn't put in effort. And you would hope that after basically allowing Jack Conklin to get hurt because of your mistake, you would put in more effort. But that's just not who Jedrick Wills is. So I'm very worried about Highsmith against Jedrick Wills. And it's not just because I think Highsmith is this great player. It's just a lack of effort. It's a lack of care and responsibility to do your job. Outside of that, outside of the two tackle spots, we'll be fine. But if you're Kevin Stefanski, you have to find ways to figure that out. And that's the only concerning part to me facing the Pittsburgh Steelers offensively for the Browns is you have a rookie right tackle going up against TJ Watt, which you're going to have to find ways to chip him. You're going to have to find ways to take TJ out of the game. Now, the 49ers did that by essentially running away from TJ Watt and getting the ball out quick, which I think the Browns can do. But the problem from there is if you have to run away from TJ Watt, Jedrick Wills has to be good. And I'm not confident in that. So it's going to be interesting to see what Kevin Stefanski wants to do offensively as far as game planning for this Steelers defense. So yeah, I think offensively for the Browns, if I were in charge, I would be finding ways to, and I said this for the Bengals game, but I really do think Elijah Moore get the ball in his hands, find ways to get the ball out early to him, build that confidence by Deshaun Watson because passing the ball, the numbers weren't great, but like I said in that video, his eyes were always in the right spot. He bought time. I thought his decision making was pretty good for the most part. It was like his mind was ahead of his body. And I'm not going to, put excuses. He's got to play better. He has to play better. But what he did taking off running the ball, I was impressed with. And I'm expecting a much better game against the Pittsburgh Steelers throwing the football. But how are you going to do it is kind of the question. So I don't know. I feel like this needs to be a heavy Nick Chubb game because Christian McCaffrey absolutely went off against the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1. And I think you just got to get creative here. I think this needs to be a game where Kevin Stefanski is going to have to get creative to compensate for not just DeJuan Jones going up against TJ Watt, but also Jedrick Wills and Alex Highsmith. And that's the best part about, and obviously I'm not rooting for injury, but it's a reality. Not having I don't know. It's so complicated. It's so complicated to me because Cam Hayward has always been great, right? He's always been great. But the Browns offensive line moves, right? We can run the ball. It doesn't really matter for the most part who we're playing. We always have been able to run the ball. So without Cam Hayward being there, are the Browns just going to run a lot? Like, I just got a feeling that the Browns are going to try to neutralize TJ, try to neutralize Highsmith by just running the ball up the middle. Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't know. But I would like to see Deshaun Watson step up, have a good game, and get this receiving core more involved. I want to see Njoku more involved. Njoku had 2 receptions for 24 yards against the Bengals. I think it's time to get him involved in the passing game. But how much of it was a weather thing, taking away, different opportunities? I don't know. It's complicated. But again, I think the Browns are going to dominate. I think the Browns are going to win this game pretty convincingly, and it's not going to be easy. Like in the first quarter, first half, even, I would expect this to be a close game. But I think the Browns, similar in the Bengals game, are going to just break away. I think at some point this game is going to get out of hand for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if I'm right. I could be sitting here looking like an idiot on Tuesday, but we'll see. I feel good. I feel good about it. I feel good about what I saw Sunday against the Bengals. And I really do think it's all going to come down to, can the Steelers move the ball? I really do think that, because no matter how good TJ Watt is, no matter how good the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is, it's not better than the Browns. It's just not. And I think the defense for the Browns is going to keep this game very, very low scoring for the Steelers. And, we just got to find ways to move the ball and we'll win this game. That's just how I feel about it. So I know that's not really a super in-depth preview, and it's not very detailed. But based on what we've seen week 1, 49ers, great defense, shut down the Steelers offense. Completely shut down the Steelers offense. And they found ways to move the ball offensively. I think for the Browns, follow that formula. Do what you did last week defensively, bring pressure, get Kenny Pickett uncomfortable, and offensively get the ball out quick. Run the ball. I really do think it is kind of simple this week. But again, it is Pittsburgh Steelers. So now, with that being said, interesting stat. Cam Hayward has only missed 11 games since his 2012 debut for the Steelers and in the NFL. So, not a guy who misses a lot of games. So, having him not on the field is a pretty big deal. But we'll see. I'm very, very confident heading into this game. Again, the only part I don't really like is it's on the road against the Steelers in Pittsburgh in prime time. So, you know how it'll be, right? The media hates the Browns. They'll be talking about how good the Steelers are, even though they got blown out last week. So, with that being said, let me know your thoughts. What are you expecting from this Steelers game? I don't think this will be close. I'll be honest with you. But let me know your thoughts. Am I wrong? What do you think? Who knows? We'll see you in the next one. Go Browns.